We all live. Peace and black power family. Welcome to another episode of Insuring Our Black Future. And if you look here, you see who we got in the building. We got the goddess of insurance, the goddess of healing, the goddess of creation up in here. So many talents, so many skills all together in one here. So without any further ado, becomes my honor and privilege at this time to introduce and present to others our goddess of renewal. The goddess
Peace,
Dawn Douglas in the building.
peace and blessings, everybody. So I am so thankful to be here to do what I always do, which is talk about life insurance because it is something that is very important in the Black community, and it's also one of those things that is highly overlooked. Um, Within the Black community, and especially right now with everything going on with all the marches, the protests, people, still being shot down by the cops, and now we've got people being hung all over the place. We definitely need to be paying more attention to what we have in place for our families in the event of our early demise, of our just our demise. Period. Like, we know we're gonna go, so we need to start making sure that we have the necessary things in place. And I keep seeing people posting the comment, perhaps if every Black person had at least 500,000 or $1 million life insurance policy on themselves, that that would put an end to police killing us. And a lot of, for the most part, that can be a true statement. But the flip side is that we have to pay attention to what's being put on our death certificate when it comes to trying to file a claim for life insurance. Um, there's a lot that goes into that. If you've only had the policy for less than 2 years, the policies can still be contested. So if they put on there suicide by cop, meaning and what that means is if they put suicide by cop, it basically is saying that you were the antagonist that forced the cop to shoot you. But like I said, if it's within the first 2 years, your policy can be contested and could potentially not pay out. So we have to be mindful of that. Now, while I do agree, like I said, that perhaps if all of us had 500,000 or $1 million policies, it would definitely, the insurance companies would definitely start to lean on these police departments because they would be paying out um, a ton of premiums that, a ton of death claims that they necessarily weren't banking on having to pay out all at the same time. And that's not to say that insurance companies don't want to pay out. That's the reason why you have life insurance, especially if you have those permanent policies, or if die well within the term periods from car accidents, natural causes, or whatever the case may be. Those policies will pay out. But please be mindful, like I said, we have to be careful of what happens to us when we the way that we die when it comes to dealing with the police, because that could still be a sticky situation for insurance companies to try to say that you initiated your death and therefore they may not want to pay out, or they may contest having to pay it out. That's not to say that insurance companies won't pay out. It's just to say that it could potentially cause a delay, or it could potentially not get paid out. So we have to be mindful of that. But I do really believe that if more of us had life insurance in the Black community, yeah, like I said, these insurance companies will be like, hold up, like, what's going on? Y'all doing too much. We having to pay out too many death claims. And granted, the insurance industry is a $3 trillion industry. Not to and that's not to say that they wouldn't pay out or that they don't have the means. They definitely have the means to pay out. Like I said again, that is a $1 trillion industry. But what that is to say is that if we all had those policies and this stuff was going on and all of these multiple deaths were occurring at the hands of the cops, they would definitely have to start to put their foot down, like, yo, y'all got to put an end to this, because this is getting out of hand. Like, we paying out way too much. And I hate that that we even have to have that kind of conversation to get people to look at getting life insurance policies on themselves. Like, yo, if we had 500,000 or $1 million policy, that would prevent a lot of cop killings or whatever the case may be. Like, this should be something that should be the norm for us, regardless of how we pass. Like, we should have this stuff set in place because it's a means of creating wealth for our families. And that's really what we have to wrap our minds around and start to focus on. Like, hey, life insurance is a means for us to start to create some wealth and to put some wealth in the hands of black and the black community, the black family, the people that are really struggling the most. um, are the ones that have the least amount of life insurance and have the least amount of ways to pull themselves up out of poverty. And life insurance can definitely do that. I try to stress that all the time to people. Like, just imagine what your loved ones could do with a tax-free $100,000, $500,000, $1 million check. Imagine the circumstances, how their circumstances would change with that money. Now, one thing I do want to talk about when it comes to this is that we often think that, just by amassing huge amounts of money will change our financial situation. And that's not actually the case. You have to be financially responsible as well. Like, just getting more money does won't make you become financially responsible. If you're not financially responsible before you inherit a lot of money, you're not automatically going to become financially responsible once you do. So that's the other piece that we have to really start to put into play for the black families is financial literacy. We got to step our games all the way up when it comes to financial literacy. And it's teaching people not how to make large amounts of money. That's a great thing, but how to keep it. See, we're very good at making a large amount of money. We're not very good at keeping it. And that's the other problem that we have within the black communities. Again, so if you get that, if you don't have the mindset, the financial mindset of, saving money, making money work for you, getting tax-free $50,000, $100,000 and up is not going to make you become that. Once you get that money, that's just you're just going to go spend your money on a whole bunch of stuff that you really don't need, and then you're going to be right back to where you are. So we also, aside from generational wealth, we need financial literacy, financial responsibility in our communities. We need to be having these conversations about life insurance and about financial literacy to help our families um, begin to increase their financial statuses out here, to get that step up in order for us to be able to level the playing field for us. We got to have these conversations, and it's a conversation that people often do not wish to have when it comes to life insurance. Man, listen, I can't even begin to tell you how many people are quick to tune me out when I start talking about life insurance, just from the lives that I do on Facebook talking about life insurance, or just from the posts that I put up. They don't get a lot of likes. The lives that I do talking about Facebook, talking about life insurance on Facebook, they don't get a lot of views. Some, my people that really know me and know how passionate I am about this, they will watch it and they will like it and they will share it. But the rest of the people on my page, like I said, as soon as they tune in and see me start talking about life insurance, they tune right out. And that is one of the things that we have to fix within our communities is we gotta have this conversation. Like, if everything that's going on right now isn't making people have this conversation, like, yo, look at all of these people that are being killed senselessly. Not that this hasn't been happening for years, but look at everything that's going on out here. Like, if that isn't making people open up their eyes and say, we got to have a plan in place, we got to make sure that we have our ducks in a row, so that when something happens to us, our family has these steps that they are going to take, and they have this means of paying for my funeral and making sure that nobody has to struggle financially. We don't we very much overlook life insurance and its importance and what it can do for our families. Like I said, we don't like to talk about it because for the most part, black people are very superstitious, and they're like, oh man, I don't want to talk about life insurance. Don't be wishing death upon me. Death is the only thing that is certain in life. Like death is certain. Everything else is up in the air, and life insurance can be certain as well, because if you put that in place, you never have to worry about it again, especially if you get yourself, a great policy put in place. But I always tell people, man, start off with what you can afford. We get into this mindset too of, our finances might not be there, and then we want, like, oh, I want a $250,000 policy, but I can't pay what it costs to pay for that on a monthly basis. Like, start small. You can always start small with life insurance. If you're on a fixed budget, if your income is limited, start with just enough to pay for a funeral. Just start with that. And then as you become more financially stable, increase your policy. But start with having something in place, because I always tell people that having, just a bare minimum policy of maybe $25,000 in place is absolutely better than having no policy in place whatsoever. And unfortunately, many of the people who look like me that'll watch this broadcast in the future, or whatever the case may be, don't have life insurance in place, or they get complacent, and they'll rely on the job policy, because they were told when they started this new job, you're getting health benefits, you're getting life insurance. But at the same time, you're not leaving with that stuff when you leave from these jobs, because you're not a salaried employee. It's not a career, it's an actual job. You're not salaried, so you're not walking away with a severance package, you're not walking away with a pension package, you're not walking away with anything. But yet will be so complacent to say, no, I'm good, I have life insurance on my job. Okay, that's fine, if you plan on working there all the way up until the day that you die, which, granted, you don't know when it is, but for the most part, the average person is like, oh, I'm going to live till I'm at least 70, 80, 90 years old. You're not going to still be working at that job, and you're not still going to have that life insurance. So it is very important that we start to put the things that we need to have in place, so that when we do pass, our families don't have to worry about that, and something can be left behind. Even if it's just $10,000, $5,000, leave something behind. Like, that is where we are hugely dropping the ball in the Black community. Like, we, for the most part, the average Black family does not leave any sort of wealth behind. We leave a lot of debt, though. And that's a very unfortunate thing to say, is that we leave a lot of debt behind. We don't leave a lot of wealth behind. And that's very evident when you look at how financially, a lot of families are struggling from one generation to the next, because nothing is being left behind, and no financial literacy is being taught. Like, these are the steps that we need to take in order to make sure we can get ourselves, our future generations, to that very next level that's going to benefit them, that's going to actually help them and do some good in their lives. That's what we want. We want that generational wealth. We want to be able to leave money behind. We want to make sure that future generations are not struggling like we had to struggle. We want to give them a step up in life, but we also want to give them that financial education that will ensure that when they get this money, they're able to keep this money and pass on that knowledge to everybody else, so that it becomes a repetitive cycle in our families, and so that we can begin to amass some wealth for us, just like everybody else has been able to do. One of the things that I tell people all the time is, we look at the wealthy and just assume that they were just so business savvy, like, oh my God, they made all of this money through their business ventures, and that's not even the case. A lot of them got inheritances from life insurance. In fact, a huge percentage of them got their inheritances from life insurance and went on to start all of these companies, and then they just taught their family to do the exact same thing, to get some life insurance in place, and to go out here and start these businesses, and make sure you have a trust set up, so that money can always be passed down, and so that it can't be spent all in one place. Like, these are the kind of things that we have to do for us, because these are the kind of things that the wealthy are doing for their families. And it's not that we can't do it, it's that we don't. It's not that the information and the tools are not available. It's that we don't look up the information and we don't utilize the tools that are available to us to ensure that we have the same opportunities as everybody else. Everything is out here for us. Um, so again, with everything that's going on out here in these streets, like now is really like it's always the right time to talk about life insurance, especially if you don't have a policy. If you don't have a policy, this is the time you want to be talking about life insurance. But it's more importantly with everything that's going on out here, this is definitely a great time to be looking at your circle, your family, your friends, the people you care about, and making sure that they have policies in place. Why? Because we cannot escape death. And it's, it's an unfortunate thing to say. Well, it's really not. If you embrace death, you know it's coming. You're going to make sure you're prepared for it. So that's what you want to do is sit down and prepare for death and to make sure. Can I help you? The baby just fell asleep. Okay, close the door. Sorry about that. But you want to make sure that you have everything in place so that your family has the necessary tools for generational wealth, um, to leave some money behind, to make sure funerals get paid for, to make sure that the next generation is completely set up and ready to go with some, with a fresh start, with a good financial start at that. So that is my message for you guys today. Is like look at everything that's going on out here and then look at your circle and see who is lacking when it comes to life insurance. Have that conversation. Don't be afraid to have that conversation, because if you're afraid to have the conversation about who has and who needs life insurance, the next conversation that you're going to have is going to be, how are we going to pay for this funeral? It's a much easier conversation to have about, hey, who has life insurance, who needs life insurance, than it is to say, hey, how are we going to come together and pay for this funeral? I'd much rather have that first conversation about who has life insurance, who needs it, and how can we help you get it, than how are we going to help you guys pay for a policy. Like that's the conversation you shouldn't want to have. But unfortunately, that's the main conversation that many people in their circles have is, how are we going to raise this money to pay for a funeral? When we shouldn't have to do that. We should just be able to call an insurance company and say, hey, so and so passed. Here's their policy number. What do we need to do to get this payout to pay for this funeral? That's easier to me, because when you start trying to rely on all of these people to donate and raise money, shenanigans get involved, and none of that stuff has to be that way. It's an easier route to get this done, and it's called life insurance. And if you get a sufficient policy, it can mean wealth for those people that are left behind. So that's my message to you guys today, with everything that's going on with these riots and protests and what's going on out here in these streets. Make sure you have a policy in place. And again, if you can't afford that $500,000 or $1 million policy, get what you can afford. And don't let that, don't be discouraged like, oh man, I can't afford that. Okay, get that starter policy and then work your way up to that 500,000 or that $1 million policy. Start with what you can afford and stay, make sure that it's something that you can pay for on a monthly basis with zero problems. And always, you can always upgrade your policy, just like you upgrade your phone, just like you upgrade your car, just like you may even upgrade your house to your dream house. You can upgrade your life insurance as well. So again, that's my message for you guys today. Generational wealth. Be prepared, be proactive, and let's stop being reactive. Let's make wealth a thing for our families, just like it is for everybody else's. So what else you got for me, Knowledge Born?
Well, as usual, I want to know what's going on with business. I know you traveling and everything that you got going on. So, let everybody know what's going on with the business and the businesses with an S, and how they can support those businesses as well.
Absolutely. So right now I am on vacation visiting family. However, that has not stopped me from writing life insurance policies, making sure that my friends and family are also taken care of. I am able to assist everybody in all 50 states. And if you have questions about life insurance or if you need to get a policy started, you can contact me at 702 330 5706. If you are local to Nevada, Clark County specifically, I am a mobile notary out there. Again, that number to reach me is 702 330 5706. And I also make skincare products and healing jewelry, stone pieces like this one that I wire wrapped for myself. But I also do beaded stone necklaces with crystals, healing crystals on those. That's on my Etsy store. Um, you can find my stuff on Instagram, Soulful Creations 23 for the jewelry and skincare. And I am also a Reiki master, helping people keep their energy aligned and helping people maintain spiritual balance in their lives. I do distance healing and distance oracle card readings for people who don't live in Las Vegas. If you do live in Las Vegas, you can contact me for an in person session or reading at 702 330 5706. And I also do in person Reiki classes teaching people how to heal themselves through Reiki, all the way up through Reiki Master and spiritual counseling. Again, the phone number for every single business that I have is 702 330 5706. You can either call me and leave a message or text me for any information and assistance that you need.
When y'all make sure y'all be safe out there. It's a lot going on in the world, and we will see you next month.
All right. Peace and blessings, love and light to you all.
All right, peace.